Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Community Journal. Thank you very much for joining us. Always nice to have you aboard, and we appreciate you coming. And I cannot believe that this weekend ushers in a new season.
I know.
Where'd summer go?
I know. Where did summer go? And fall is here, and the hurricanes are
Yeah, I
coming,
know
and
it.
oh my
Wow.
goodness, so much
Well,
going
we sort of
on.
lucked out with this hurricane.
Yes, we
It really turned into a tropical storm, which we were very lucky. And
Hopefully that will continue next week.
yeah, I hope so. This one sort of got stuck off the coast 150 miles away, but you know, it's not doing too much damage. We're getting some beneficial rain, so I guess we really can't complain.
And it didn't affect the Harwich happening last weekend.
No, it didn't.
Yes, the Cranberry Festival.
Except for the fog.
Oh, I know. Oh, I felt so bad about that. But it sounded great. And the sky was pretty colors.
Those were the best fireworks I've ever heard.
Yes, exactly.
I actually saw them because I was on the field at the high
You
school.
could see them. I mean, you really could. If you looked up in the lower ones, you could see them.
We were across the street and didn't come over until the end. Yeah.
And in case you didn't know, we have a third person with us today at the top of the show. You might not know this person. Her name is Robin Kelly, and she happens to be the cemetery administrator for the town of Harwich. Now, some of you may not know her, but all of us will get to know her, I'm sure, at some point in our life. And Robin is going to be talking to us today with Eileen and I about something a lot of people try to avoid, and that's pre-planning. And you know, this is something that is becoming more and more important. And Eileen, you brought out a very good point before the show. A lot of folks move down here and they don't have anybody, any relatives down here with them, and they're sort of going it on their own.
Exactly.
And I think what Robin has to tell us today is it really ties into that and makes it even more important. So, Robin, we really appreciate you coming aboard, taking time out of your busy schedule to tell us something about a pre-planning luncheon that you are putting together.
Well, the pre-planning luncheon is going to be on October the 2nd. It starts at 10 and it goes until 2. We break around noontime for lunch for an hour. And we'll have vendors that are placed all around the room, and they will have information that you can take away if you are interested in, say, maybe assisted living or veterans benefits, or talking to me about purchasing lots, or, talking to one of the funeral homes. But we have 14 different speakers, so it's quite a range of people that will be at the
luncheon.
At the luncheon.
Yes.
Of course, and the food will be wonderful, served by Linda.
Yes.
She'll be making clam chowder and sandwiches and stuff. Probably some dessert, I'm sure.
Yummy. And this is a very important topic, as Jack was bringing out, because so many of us sort of know it's coming, but, oh, well, I'm feeling well and I don't have to worry about it. This is the time to do it when you are feeling well and get everything set up and everything buttoned up, and then your family will know what your wishes are and how you want to handle.
Right. The first pre-planning seminar that I started to arrange was because I had so many people coming to me when somebody died.
Yes.
And it is a very hard time to make all those decisions in like a 2-day time period. You got to pick out a lot, you got to find a funeral director, you have to figure out what everyone wanted. So it can be very difficult at that time. So we want to give them as much information in advance so that you can make informed decisions and maybe find out the wishes of your loved ones. A lot of times people don't even talk about whether they want to be a traditional burial, which is in a casket, versus a cremation burial, which...
Good point, yes.
And here on the Cape, we are still at about 50-50 casket and cremation, but off Cape, they're at 80% cremation. So I think more and more people this day and age are going towards cremation. I think not only for economics, but I think a lot of people want to leave less of a footprint. So it's personal preference, and I don't want to sway anyone either way.
But it affects how you use your lot, which is a very interesting point that you brought up when we were speaking earlier.
Yes. So if you had purchased a traditional burial lot, say 2 grave spaces for you and your spouse, in the town of Harwich, in that 1 full body burial space, you can have 4 cremations or 1 full body and 1 cremation. So if you want typically you could have 8 cremations in that lot with an upright memorial. So sometimes people want their children buried with them in the same location. As a genealogist, I love that because then you can find everyone in one fell swoop. But a lot of people just economically find that much appealing. And they want to be with their parents or
And there's so much more to this topic than just picking the plot and the funeral home and so forth. There's also all the smaller details
right.
that we don't think about, and we just assume family and friends will take care of it. But they might want to be at the services with you, and there's someone that's going to be speaking about that.
Oh, yes. So we this year I found this lady. Her name is Annie Gibbons, and she owns a company called With Amazing Grace. And her services are kind of different. So she would say you wanted to go back to your house or, you know, and you had to get all the stuff from the funeral home, the pictures, the flowers, and what you wanted to have served there. She will do all the behind the scenes work for you. She'll clean your house, walk your dog. She does elder care. She does, you know, provides transportation or will get you transportation if your loved ones are flying in from the airport, a train station. Gosh, she's kind of like a wedding planner for funerals.
Exactly, that's what you said.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
amazing.
chuckled, but
Yeah,
it
that
truly
really,
is,
yeah.
yes. And it's a wonderful service.
Yeah, I think she's the only one that offers it, and she's wonderful. So she's a great speaker. So I look forward to everyone meeting her, and she does a great job.
And not all the speakers will be speaking. Some of them will just be providing
Yeah, some of them,
information
you know,
to
I
take
know.
home.
Yeah, like Shawnee Carroll, she is one of the veterans agents here in town. She is going to have a table set up with all the materials about veterans benefits and about the Bourne National Cemetery. And she will introduce all of the speakers, but she, you know, will just probably meet with people on a one-to-one basis after lunch or during lunch, whatever you want to do. We also have Elizabeth Lynn. She is an elder law attorney that works in the Council on Aging area, and they do offer free legal services here on the Council on Aging on wills and trusts and probate, which are very important things to try to figure out before somebody gets sick or ends up, you know, there's a 5-year look back if you're going to go into any of these assisted living homes, and you want to make sure that you have all that stuff in order before, you know, somebody gets ill or eventually passes on.
And that's such an important piece.
It really
Elder
is.
law is very important, and it's wonderful that she offers her services free through the COA.
There's 3 separate attorneys that do meet.
Wow,
Wow.
that's wonderful. I mean, this is information that we ordinarily wouldn't know if you didn't put this all
Right.
together.
Right, you wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And Robin, have you noticed, you know, in the past 5 years, let's say, a movement away from traditional type funerals and you
Yeah,
know, what seems to be the trend?
I think a lot of people now do celebrations of life, which are a little bit different. So they would have, instead of having the traditional funeral home services, if the person was cremated, they might even wait to let all the relatives fly in. They'll either rent a hall. Some people do go to a restaurant and they'll have pictures or do a PowerPoint presentation with memories.
Really?
In,
Okay, yeah.
you know, I've seen just about anything.
I bet you have.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, I mean, I
That's
think
great.
they want to more celebrate the life than
Yes.
actually have funeral services. So I think some people still like the traditional funeral services, but there's other options out there that people are coming into. I am also on the South Harwich Meeting House, which is going to be opening probably in the spring of next year. And we will be able to have masses or, you know, by services
Yeah.
inside the church and then burials right there in the cemetery.
Oh, wow.
In the basement of the South Harwich Meeting House, it has a kitchen and an area all set up so that you could do everything all in one space. You know, it's just other
that's wonderful.
options that we're trying to open up. Hopefully the people will be having weddings, not just funerals there. Concerts and other activities. I'm sure it's looked at like another arts building.
Well, it is an event in a way, and many people who move to the Cape come from out of state.
Yeah, that's
or
true.
they might spend 6 months in Florida, 6 months here, and if they should pass away in Florida, they might want to do the services there and then come back and have a celebration of life here for those who couldn't make it down to Florida,
Yes,
and vice versa.
and I think that happens more often than
Yes.
people realize. And a lot of people will delay burials too. I mean, if it's 10 degrees out, a lot of people don't want to do services at the cemetery, so they end up waiting. We do a lot of services in July and August, and it almost becomes like a destination. They're going to come here for a week, and while they're here, they'll celebrate their grandmother passing away or something to that effect. And it gives people a lot of time to plan. A lot of people have busy schedules, and they can't get away from work. And I think a lot more people are trying to accommodate people so that everyone can attend.
Yes, and it opens up the need for the services of these speakers that you're going to be presenting at this pre-planning luncheon, which, as you said, was on Monday, October 2nd.
Yes.
It's going to be held here
That
at
is
the
correct.
Community Center, and people must sign up. And
Oh, yeah, so-
tell them how to sign up.
So they need to call the Council on Aging. The phone number is 508-430-7550. And they need to say that they are coming to the pre-planning luncheon. You also must say if you're coming alone or with your spouse. The last time we held it, we had a lot of people just show up. We were able to accommodate some of them, but then it was full. And once there's only enough seating for so many people. We sit at round circle tables, so it's not intimidating, and so that all the speakers can get heard. And then the tables will be on the outside. So hopefully we'll have a great turnout again this year. But we always videotape the pre-planning seminar to then go home with people who could not attend. So there are some people who just are homebound or in hospice. We have a hospice worker coming who's going to talk about Nancy Reynolds, dispelling the myths of hospice. And
yes, because that's changed too. So many things have changed.
Right.
Within
So
our life.
I think we will have a lot of speakers, and a lot of people who won't be able to attend will still, because Jamie does such a great job videotaping and then getting the CD available for others so that they can view it in their home, or they, if somebody was away and they didn't have time to come or had other,
Other obligations.
could work or whatever. But
Right.
Well, Robin, I think this is wonderful that you're taking the time to put all this together, and it's a topic that a lot of people have in the past tried to avoid, and you've certainly taken and made it user-friendly. And
Good way to put it, Jack.
And I think this is really a great opportunity, and again, that's Monday, October 2nd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and lunch is from 12 noon to 1, but you must sign up, and so you just can't walk in. So we really need to stress that. Because we want to make it useful, and if it's overbooked, it really won't work as well. So please sign up with the COA.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Yes, don't call Robin.
Don't call Robin.
you can, but you still have to call the front desk of the COA, because
Right.
they are doing all of the, they do the lists, and then I believe they call and remind people as well.
Great, that's
Excellent.
wonderful.
That's good.
Well,
All
Robin,
right.
thank you so much for coming aboard and
thank you for
joining us
having me.
today. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, and we wish you success on this this luncheon. I'm sure it'll be a great turnout.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Very
Thanks
good.
again, Robin.
Well, folks, we move along now on the show, and Dinah and Kevin Dinah sat down with Kevin Grunwald to give us an update with the Council on Aging. So let's take a look at that right now.
Hello, I'm here today with Kevin Grunwald, who is the Social Services Coordinator of the COA in Harwich. And he has some very interesting things to talk about that are going on over the next couple of weeks. What would you like to start with, Kevin?
Okay, I think I will start with our simulcast from Dr. Atul Gawande. This is something that was actually rescheduled from February. We had to reschedule it because of a snowstorm last year. But Dr. Gawande will be presenting, and Harwich has been designated as one of the watch sites for his presentation on his book, Being Mortal.
That's very exciting. Wonderful. He's a great speaker and such an amazing writer, too. I'm sure he's a good doctor. I haven't availed myself of his doctoring services, but I know that he writes about many, many issues beautifully.
Yeah, Dr. Gawande is a surgeon, and his presentation is going to be on the role of medicine at the end of life, which is really what his book, Being Mortal, is about. This is a book that our men's book club here at the Council on Aging read a couple of years ago, and we really found it to be incredibly fascinating and also somewhat surprisingly uplifting. And so when we had an opportunity to partner with Nauset Neighbors to host this simulcast, we jumped right on it, and we were very excited about being able to offer that here.
Yeah, he is uplifting, and I would attest to that from having heard him speak about death, end-of-life issues, and also having read most of the book, not being quite finished with it. But it is not a depressing book, and I would recommend it to anyone.
And everybody that I talk to, I say this is a book that I think everyone should read. So the simulcast will be a live presentation by Dr. Gawande. We're scheduled to start here at the Community Center in the multipurpose room at 4:30, and we'll go probably until about 6:30. There's no charge for this event, and there will be refreshments served. And we're just asking that people call the Council on Aging at 430-7550 ahead of time to register, just so that we have some idea of how many people are coming. I think we have about 50 people who are signed up at this point.
Great.
If I hadn't said the date, again, it's next Monday, the 25th
The 25th of September, yes.
4:30. Yeah.
Okay, and it's in the multipurpose room, did you say?
The multipurpose room.
Right, so there's plenty of room
Plenty
for
of
more
room.
than 50.
Yes, we
if
should not
more
have any
people sign up.
problem with
Okay.
space at all. Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. Do you know, will he be speaking on his own, or is he going to be being interviewed by someone?
I'm not sure if he's being interviewed or not, or if this is a presentation. But I do know that there's going to be an opportunity for questions, and I believe we may be able to ask questions from this site. So
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
that's a wonderful interactive kind of opportunity. That would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, it's a great partnership that we have with Nauset Neighbors, who is part of a group called Village to Village that has arranged to bring these to different locations around the state.
I see. Well, that's terrific. Glad to hear about it. You have something else coming up as well.
We do, and this is coincidental in terms of the scheduling, but we're kind of on a theme of mortality. So on Tuesday the 26th, we're going to be hosting our second Death Cafe here at the Council on Aging.
That's Death
Cafe, right? And you know, I find that I need to repeat that to people several times. I think the title is actually kind of provocative and interesting. But this is a group that was started in London in 2011 by a man by the name of John Underwood. And it's an opportunity for people to get together in an informal setting and have an unstructured conversation about death and dying. So we piloted this here at the Council on Aging in July and had about 40 people attend, which really exceeded our expectations. We had a great discussion. It was very poignant, it was moving, it was funny at times, and there was an interest in continuing this. And so we have scheduled a second one for this Tuesday the 26th, again here in the multipurpose room from 2 to 4. And if the interest continues, we will continue to facilitate this group here.
So you will be the facilitator.
Yeah, I facilitated the first group, and I'm going to be facilitating this one as well. And the role of the facilitator is to really just kind of keep the conversation going, which was really not a problem with our first group. This was started because John Underwood felt that there are not enough opportunities in our lives to talk about death. And there's a quote that I used, I think it came from Steve Jobs, that it's the one destination that we all share, and it's something that we should be talking about. So the cafe theme comes from kind of a European cafe notion of getting together over coffee or tea or in something to eat and just having a very informal conversation. And so we will again have refreshments, and there's no charge for this event. And I'm looking forward to this. It was a real positive experience in July.
Sounds great. So will it be set up in a circle so that people are able to talk with one another rather than chairs lined up, or? Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's set up. So we had a very large circle of 40 people, and we've actually decided to limit attendance to 40 at this point, just because we felt any larger made it difficult for everybody to participate. We had talked about the possibility of splitting up into smaller groups, and the attendees there felt that they would have missed out on some of the conversation, and so they lobbied to have it as one group. So we will do it again as one group and see how that goes. Apparently they're all different, depends on who's there and what's on their mind and what they want to talk about.
Of course.
So again, it'll be kind of interesting following on the presentation by Dr. Gawande the day before.
Yes, yes. So it's the day immediately after.
Yep.
At 4:30, did you say?
2 o'clock.
2
So,
o'clock in
right,
the afternoon, 2
right.
o'clock on the
Yeah,
26th.
yeah, and that's 2 to 4.
2 to 4,
Yeah.
okay. And would you recommend it for people who are currently dealing with loss or specifically, or would you say that it's really for anyone who wants to just talk about the issues involved with their own mortality?
It really is for anyone. It's not a bereavement group, so we try to be really clear about that, and there are other resources in the area if people need help dealing with their grief. But certainly if somebody had lost someone in their life recently, it would be appropriate to attend. But the idea is, again, that this is an issue that we all confront at some point in our lives. Some of the people who came in July talked about their own thoughts about their death and their planning, but other people talked about people in their lives, particularly dealing with parents in some situations or spouses. So it really, again, it varies depending on the composition of the group and what people are interested in talking about. A friend of mine who facilitated a group at another council on aging told me that in one of the groups that she did, people decided to start writing their obituaries, and so that's what they did. We ended this group in July with a little exercise where people just had to fill in the blank. Before I die, I want to fill in the blank, and they wrote those down. I collected them and then handed them out randomly to people, and we read them and talked about what some of the people's thoughts and wishes were around that.
Sounds like it could lead to a really rich conversation. It's wonderful.
It absolutely did. Yeah.
So not a support group per se at
No.
all. It's really a discussion and a sharing
Absolutely.
and an enriching.
Yep.
Well, it sounds great.
And there are refreshments, and again, that is an
And
important part, and
refreshments.
that is
That's
really
the cafe part.
That is the cafe part, and
Right.
that is one of the requirements of holding a death cafe and using that term, is that it has to be free, and you have to make sure that you have refreshments. So our chef, Linda St. Pierre, will be baking a cake, I believe, for that day, and we'll have some fruit as a healthier alternative, and coffee and tea, and it will just be an opportunity to get together and have some, what I think will be some really very productive conversation.
Certainly sounds it. I would look forward to it. I think I might try to come as myself. I don't know. You have to make a reservation, did you say?
Yeah, again, call the Council on Aging at 430-7550 to sign up. There is space available. We are going to limit it to 40 people.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. Is there anything else on your mind today that you want to share with us that you will be working on, or is this enough for now?
This is enough for now. This is going to be a busy week next week.
It is.
I know that, and again, this just seems to be a theme. I think the following week, our cemetery director is going to be sponsoring a pre-planning seminar. So that's something to look for as well. And I don't know if she's been on Channel 18 to talk about that, but if she hasn't, she probably will be. But I know that there's information available about that. So
Okay. Great. Well, I'm sure we'll hear about it if we haven't already.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin.
right.
That's Kevin Grunwald of the COA, Social Services Coordinator. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dinah.
Well, we appreciate Kevin sitting down with Dinah and bringing us up
Yes,
to date. And
definitely.
you know, I hear one name being mentioned across the board, Linda. She does more baking and cooking. It's really amazing.
Good point. Yes, she does.
You know, the food around here is fantastic.
It
and
is.
That lady is just incredible.
And she's a behind-the-scenes type of person, so we don't realize just how hard she does work.
Very true.
Yes.
Very, very true. Okay, you have an interesting, well, we talked about food. Now you can talk about exercise.
When you eat food, you need to exercise.
This is true.
And with fall around the corner, as we talked about at the top of the show, Next around the corner will be the holiday season. So if you'd like to shed a pound or two like I'm hoping to do before then, here's an option for you to consider. Exercise class with a certified personal trainer, Jill. She specializes in weight management, so you can come and join the fun on Tuesdays from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. and Saturdays 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I believe it's right here at the community center, and she says that you will have lots of fun while you're dropping those pounds. And her price is 12 lessons for $96, which sounds like a very good deal to me. So she hopes to see you soon, and if you're interested and you want more information, please call her at 508-237-6209. Once again, that's exercise class with a certified personal trainer, Jill, and the number to call is 508-237-6209.
Very good.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And are you a veteran, or do you know a veteran of World War II? In honor of the sacrifices Americans veterans have made, the Randolph Savings Charitable Foundation is proud to support Honor Flight. This is an organization that provides honor and closure by transporting U.S. veterans to visit war memorials in Washington, D.C. They are sponsoring a program that would like veterans of World War II to apply for a flight. An honor flight will be flying 60 veterans from Boston to Washington, D.C. in the spring of 2018. They would like to honor as many World War II veterans as they can. The Randolph Savings Bank branches will be accepting applications at all locations from September 6th to December 29th, or you can call them at 781-573-1335. That's 781-573-1335 to apply for or for more information. That's Honor Flight to get down there to see the war memorials down in Washington, D.C. So that's a great opportunity.
Wonderful thing to do.
Wasn't that wonderful?
Yeah, for World War II
that really
veterans.
is something. That is great. Now, we've mentioned this one before, and again, you know, after the summer, our beaches really take a beating. People
Especially
using them,
this week and next
this
week,
week,
too.
they're really taking a beating.
Yes.
And the harbor master is he's doing volunteer for Coast Sweep 2017. At the location is the Harbor Master's Workshop parking lot for the Bank Street Bogs at 203 Bank Street in Harwich. 9 a.m. Saturday, September 30th, or the rain date is Sunday, October 1st. The contact for this is Nikki Smith at the Town of Harwich Conservation Department, 508-430-7538. And here's that email address again.
Oh, yes.
I'll say it, but the phone number is a lot easier. It's nsmith@town.harwich.ma.us. Or the phone number, 508-430-7538. This is for more information on the Massachusetts Annual Beach Cleanup, and that's really important this time of year. There's Clean Sweep at state.ma.us for more information. There is a phone number that sort of is the overarching phone number for the whole program. Yep. It's 617-626-1200. And this program is sponsored by the Massachusetts Office of Coastal Zone Management, the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, and the Ocean Conservancy. So again, this is to clean up our beaches after the long summer, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that washes up after these storms. So this is really important. September 30th, October 1st is the rain date, 9 a.m. So hopefully you can take part in that.
Yes, very important.
Yeah, that would be nice. Now, periodically, our town administrator, Chris Clark, brings us up to date. So here is the next chapter in his address. So let's take a look at that right now.
Hi, I'm Christopher Clark, Town Administrator for the Town of Harwich. I thought I would dedicate some time today to a topic that is coming up. and that is the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School has a ballot initiative that they are seeking to obtain. I just wanted to, for informational purposes, walk through a little bit of what is involved in this vote and the significance of the different elements of it. First, what I'd like to do is just, there is material on their website. I'll hold this up for Caleb. That gives you information about the project and about the need for the new school. So I'm not going to get into significant details other than to let people know that there is a flyer available. If you go to the Cape Cod Vocational Technical High School website, there is information. I believe it's under, they have a tab that's called MSBA, Massachusetts School Building Assistance, Massachusetts School Building Authority. Under their project, I believe is the category. What I really wanted to kind of focus, I do serve on that building committee, so I am familiar with some of the details of the project itself. I guess the only element to that I would like to say is that some folks have said that they maintain the school very well, and why does it need to be updated? There are elements of that building in which the brickwork is separated from the main walls throughout the entire structure. And really, the building was designed in the 1970s for 1970s classrooms, kind of an open floor plan. And a lot of what they have now, it looks nice, but it doesn't meet the educational needs. So the building itself, they decided that the renovations were going to be about $120 million, and to build a brand new school was going to be $128 million. So the price was very comparable, so they decided to opt to construct the new school on the existing site in the back by the water tank. What I wanted to try to make sure I focused on today was just the ballot question, because it is a little bit different than some of the other ballot questions that we've had. So I just want to go over some of the mechanics. The election is going to be October 24th, 2017, and the election will run from noon to 8 p.m. The way the school was set up originally under their initial charter, if you would, was that anytime they ask for a capital appropriation, and they have not asked for many, but anytime they ask for capital appropriations, there's a specific process that needs to be used. In this case, it's called a district-wide vote, and that the Cape Cod Vocational Technical School has to pay for that district-wide vote. So each of the 12 towns that comprise the district will have a ballot that day. And what that ballot does is it basically authorizes the tech school to be able to go out and borrow money to construct the new facility. So they would authorize the $128 million for the new facility. So it's an authorization. Because it's a district-wide vote, it has a significance, and this is statutory. When it was formed, they accepted a certain statute in state law. And out of those 12 towns, there'll be a ballot in each, and you could theoretically have where in 11 out of the 12 towns it fails by a very modest amount, and in one town it succeeds by a larger amount, and it's really the total number. So if the yes votes have one more vote than the no votes district-wide, then the project is allowed to move forward. It's a simple majority vote. What that does is it then gives the ability of the school committee to go out and borrow up to that $128 million. I do want to comment just a little bit quickly on that too, is in this brochure actually covers this material. The total project, and I'm just rounding off these numbers just to make for simplicity's sake, is $128 million, as I've said. The reimbursement rate is 45%, 45.45%. In essence, that reimbursement rate, which is published and is in the law, has that number, but it is of allowable reimbursable expenses. So what does that mean? For instance, the Massachusetts School Building Authority authorizes about $325 per square foot for construction. Those numbers were put in place a long time ago, and the construction costs throughout Massachusetts have gone up. Our estimated construction costs are closer on this project, are closer to $475 a square foot. A lot of that is involved because of prevailing wage and just the expense of kind of construction, as we have to update for earthquake proofing buildings and things of that nature. So that difference between the 325 and the 476 is something that they do not reimburse. So therefore, it's not eligible for reimbursement, and it's on us. What that does is it takes the effective reimbursement rate and moves it from 45% down to 32%. So it's a much lesser rate. In this case, the total amount that would be to the system, so what the state pays is what the state will pay. It's anticipated that the district share of the project would be just over $86 million. And specifically to the town of Harwich, the cost for Harwich on an average home, not a median home, but an average home, it's about $475,000 is the average home. And that has a tax impact of about 14 cents, and on a 30-year borrowing, anticipating a 5% factor on the interest rate, it would be $66.51. So the assessment to a home, an average home in Harwich, is that $66.51. That equates to about $675,000 a year for 30 years is what the anticipated borrowing is. So we have the assessment, our current assessment is about $1.3 million. If we add that approximate $700,000 onto that, now we're at $2 million. And in terms of this, it's very important to make this note. This assessment is very much like our debt service. This is something that we have to pay first. So we have that obligation to pay. And the district-wide vote, and this again by statute, only has the authorization for them to borrow the money. The assessment falls into a different category. So we have that contractual obligation to pay that assessment if the district-wide election passes. Now, if the district-wide election passes and we have to have the ability to make sure we can pay for that $675,000. We honestly, it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to just absorb that into our budget without significant impact or some impact in terms of potential layoffs to staff. So I had requested, and the Board of Selectmen have agreed, and the Board of Selectmen have voted to add on October 24th, there'll be 2 ballots. So you have the one ballot that I've already described for Cape Cod Technical High School for authorization to construct. The second ballot would be specifically for the town of Harwich, and that is to allow for the town of Harwich through a debt exclusion. Again, the debt exclusion, just to remind folks, goes with the debt. So it adds on to the taxes for the duration of the debt, then falls off at the end of the debt. So it's a temporary tax, if you would. In terms of that, we have that authorization. So our additional assessment, that's $675,000 currently estimated, we would be able to pay for that through the debt exclusion. So on October 24th, and if people want to vote early and vote absentee, you will receive 2 ballots, one ballot for the tech school to authorize the construction, and a second ballot would be how the town of Harwich is going to pay its increased assessment. So there'll be two ballots. We would ask that you vote on both ballots. So that way we can have a determination for whether the project goes in Harwich and how we are going to fund that project if it is voted. So in terms of the town clerk, we will have 2 sets of election workers in order to do that officially, because the regional school has to have their own election. It has to be separate. The town election will have to be a separate set of workers. We have asked for the selectmen, and the selectmen authorized this, to have the times be exactly the same. So I believe that the ballot will, the election day will be, as I indicated, October 24th from noon time to 8. You go in and you'll have an opportunity to vote for the district-wide, and then secondarily, you'll have a second ballot to vote for how the town of Harwich will fund that increased assessment. So I recognize that it's a little bit confusing in terms of the cost. I want to make sure that people understand too that the cost of the election for the ballots for the tech school will be paid by the tech school. The added increased cost, the additional ballots, the additional workers will have to be absorbed by the town of Harwich. So we will pick up that cost. One of the reasons why I wanted to make sure, or my recommendation was that if you vote to do a project, you should be asked at the same time how you're going to fund it, instead of waiting a year or two later to get an additional assessment. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate the selectmen in terms of their vote, that on October 24th that you'll be asked those two questions. I know he's given me my, my time signal. I know this was a little bit long. I appreciate your time and attention. It's a little bit of a complex issue, so I wanted to spend a few extra minutes just to try to educate folks to what we're trying to do. So once again, Christopher Clark, thank you for your time and attention.
Well, I just want to take a second to thank Chris for such a wonderful explanation.
Yes.
I mean, it's just,
I never realized how much went into a decision like this.
Yeah, no, that's
really
rich.
explained it well.
yeah, no, that was so well explained. I would not have to want to explain that.
No, and Chris,
Wow.
don't worry about taking extra time. It
No,
was
that
necessary, and you
that-
did a
yeah,
great
no,
job.
That was really great. Thank you, Chris. Super. Okay, you've got something there.
I do,
Yes.
yes. Are you spending too much for your prescription drugs, do you think? Well, I think most of us can say yes. You can let the organization Shine help you find the right Medicare drug plan. The Medicare open enrollment runs from October 15th through December 7th, and the organization Shine provides free and unbiased health insurance counseling for Medicare beneficiaries of all ages. You can call the Harwich Council on Aging at 508-430-7550 to schedule an appointment. And if you're wondering what SHINE stands for, I believe it's an acronym for Serving the Health Information Needs of Elders.
Very good.
Yes,
Oh, thank
and
you
that's
very
very
much.
needed.
You know, many times we do not really know a lot about our Native American history, the history of Native Americans of this country. And there is a series of walks being sponsored by the Harwich Conservation Trust called The First People, Before and After the First Encounter. Join 12th generation Cape Codder Todd Kelly and native Wampanoag Nipmuc Marcus Hendricks on a series of walks exploring the lives of the first people local to this area and the circumstances that led up to their first encounter with the Pilgrims, and then learn about the consequences of interactions that followed up to the time of King Philip's War of 1675. The Harwich Conservation Trust, the Wellfleet Conservation Trust, and Truro Conservation Trust have partnered to offer this unique walk series. This is a series of 3 walks. The cost is $45. It's a one-time fee for all 3 walks. Advance registration and payment are required, and the space is limited. Directions will be emailed along with your registration and payment. So you do need to go online to register for these. The walks are taking place on Saturday, October 14th, Saturday, October 21st, and the other one is, let's see, October 28th. And they each have rain dates, so you can get more information. And again, they're being sponsored by the Harwich Conservation, Truro Conservation, and Wellfleet Conservation Trusts. To get more information, you can go on the harwichconservationtrust.org website, and you can get more information by going there. And that's a 3-walk series. Sounds pretty interesting.
Yes, it
for those
does.
that want to really get into Native American history. You know, that's what they're doing there is very little known about that, and
Yeah.
this will really give you some insight to the local history here. So very good.
And the cost sounds reasonable,
And the
too,
cost
for 3
sounds reasonable.
walks,
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, very good. So that is our show for this week, folks. We really appreciate you joining us on behalf of all of us here at Channel 18. Thank you so much for tuning us in.
And please take advantage of everything we've told you about that's going on around town. And as Paul would say if he was here, do it safely.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.